Hello, hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Ali Ettarnichi, Ali Dose of Inspiration. And as promised, every Monday we bring guests from all over the world sharing story of hope, rebirth, and resiliency. By doing that, we're just spreading hope that people conditions sometimes, if they have the right mindset, if they have the positive attitude, can actually help them to get to the other side if they have the desire to do that. Today, I have my friend Deborah Carson, and she is going to share with us her story of hope, rebirth, and resiliency. Welcome, my friend Deborah.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks.
Good, 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 good. So I see your story. You have really a powerful story, as you had this condition which is called lymphedema since a few years ago, and you managed to be a professional athlete, and you managed to do a lot of stuff that you are actually motivation speaker as well, like you speaking and sharing your passion. That
Mhm.
that condition didn't really keep you where you were. Can you share a little bit about this and tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend?
Okay, sure. I'm currently 40 years old, and I've had lymphedema for 20 years, about 20 years. I was diagnosed when I was 21. At the time, I didn't know what it was before I was diagnosed. I was in college. I was in college here in the United States. I was a Division I sprinter, which means the top of the NCAA chain of divisions for athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, I was a full ride sprinter. So it was just to quantify, it was something I was really good at, and I cared a lot about being an athlete and being fast and doing the best I could.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a junior, so a year from graduating at the University of Iowa is where I was, and I noticed some swelling. I was started with a lump in my groin that I had removed surgically via a minor surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that lymphedema works, it's like if you have primary lymphedema, which I have discovered that apparently that's what I have,
Mm-hmm.
which is a whole other tangent that I don't need to go down. But point is that when you have lymphedema, it's primary or secondary, it's presented the same. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I had primary lymphedema, and when something happens in your body, any kind of traumatic event, basically you're fine until you're not. Is how
Mm-hmm.
it presents itself. So I could have a lymphatic system, or you could have a lymphatic system that works at 80%, and you wouldn't know. It would appear to be 100% until it didn't. So
Really?
something
So you didn't feel like you didn't know that you have it,
no,
and
it
you
was
didn't
hitting.
feel
I
any
hit a
pain
brick.
or anything, yeah?
No, besides the lump in my upper groin, which was just a really ill placed lipoma that grew, which people have like little lipomas all over their body, and they don't really bother them to the point where obviously they wouldn't get them removed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually small or something. But this one was in a really bad spot, and it was just like hindering my range of motion with sprinting. So I felt like I needed to get it removed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but um, basically, yeah, it's like I everything was fine until it wasn't. So I like literally was everything was fine, and then I just hit a brick wall, and I had lymphedema, and everything was different on the other side, and I had no way of going back. There was nothing I could do. Um, it literally happened after it happened after the surgery, but it was like really slow going as far as like my leg was swelling, but I was like, is that okay? It's probably fine. I'll just keep running. And
Mm-hmm.
then I had a really hard workout at track that involved like just, high intensity sprinting with very minimal rest. I was, very focused on hitting split times and doing well, which I did, but it was just too much for my body, my
Mm-hmm.
lymphatic system, and specifically. Those kind of workouts where you taste blood afterwards because your lungs, it was one of those workouts where you feel so accomplished and you don't worry too much about how your body feels. You just are happy you're done. And I know now, like how much, you know, fluid you're probably moving through your body during those workouts, because my body had it after that workout. My leg specifically had it, I should say, after that workout. Because I went to the weight room after that workout my junior year, and I could see in the mirror when I was about to start squatting, I had a barbell on my back and I was looking in the mirror at myself, and I looked at my legs. I looked at my left leg and I could see like, how do I do this? Like if it was like my skin right here, I could like see it pushing out and like fluid like flowing under my skin, like making a slow path down my leg under my skin.
Really? Wow.
It was like, it kind of looked like a horror movie. Like I was like, how is this happening in real life? And you know, when I actually looked down at my leg, I was like, so somebody help me. So that was it. That's how it started. It was a lot of craziness that ensued, I should say, after that, with people thinking it was a blood clot, just a lot of not knowing what it was, until I was finally diagnosed at the University of Minnesota. I went back home to Minneapolis in Minnesota for the weekend to get figured out what was going on. And I got formally diagnosed with lymphedema at that point. So I was 21, hadn't fully started my junior season of track, and was diagnosed with lymphedema, which is a chronic condition, which there is no cure, which if you don't take care of it pretty diligently, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. It's like a slow moving.
No cure for that, Deborah?
No, there's no cure for lymphedema. Everybody's lymphedema is completely different in the sense that there is such thing as getting lymphedema from being like morbidly obese. And sometimes those people, if they could find a way to reduce their weight, they can reverse their lymphedema. It's just basically their lymphatic system stops because of like the amount of fat underneath their skin. That's different. You can sometimes reverse that. There is some surgery options where like 5% of people can be considered cured. But it's just like everybody's body's different. So there's no way of knowing with those surgeries if you're just going to have an increased quality of life, or if you're going to be all the way 100%. You don't know, and they're not available to everyone. They're very expensive, and insurance doesn't want to cover them. So it's just not like, and that's new. You know, when I first got lymphedema, that wasn't an option. So it's kind of a death sentence in the sense that there's no end. So, and you have to, like I said, when I hit a brick wall, it was like the other side of the brick wall wasn't the same as the previous. I had a different life, completely different life on this side to get used to. And it was like immediate. There's no waiting and thinking and wondering how you do it, because if you don't, it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So, yeah.
So you discovered that when you were 21, Deborah? 21.
Yeah.
So, like this lymphedema, it's a new thing to me, honestly. Like, not a lot. Even I did a podcast a few months ago, I think, with the lady here who started Giselle, who started like the Lymphedema Association in New Brunswick. Like, there is nobody know about it and stuff, and she taught me a little bit about it before I didn't know anything. So I used to see people like walking and they have like really a big foot, like swollen and huge, and that's part of lymphedema.
Yes, it could be lymphedema. It could be some other circulation issues. There's lipedema, which is very similar but different. Point is that if you see somebody with a garment on, or a big leg or something, or arm, even any extremity can be affected. It's some sort of edema, could be lymphedema.
So they call that the elephant leg or something like that.
Yeah. The word basically, when you see it like that, it's I hate to say it, but because everybody deals with it in the best way they can. And if it gets to that point, in my opinion, they probably need to do a better job of taking care of their leg. It's a job. You know, mine's is in my left leg. You can't see it, but you know, my legs are pretty similar in size. There is a difference. There's enough of a difference that I notice every single day. But you wouldn't notice if you saw me. Um, but if you saw me, like say in this, like wearing shorts or whatever, you would see me with a garment on, and then you might notice like, hey, like one of her legs is different a little bit, you know? So I do a lot to look similar, sort of similar in my legs. I do a lot to like make it so I can function. And it's not just so that I can fit into my jeans. It's because the range of motion that it can take away, just the quality of life. You'd be surprised at how horrible it can be if your leg it gets out of control. You'd think, oh, it's just one leg. It's insanely hard, and it can be very painful if you don't take care of it. So yeah.
So how people really know they find out that they have this condition is like there is does it they feel some kind of pain somewhere, or do you have to
It's basically the swelling, you know. It's like if you had a sprain. What it feels like is like if you had a constant sprain, and you know, if you've ever sprained like an ankle or something, how like big your ankle can get, and it would just never go away if you didn't do something to try to push that fluid out. Or you would know, I don't know how else to explain it, but you would know something was wrong because your entire limb might be swelling, you know, inexplicably. And it might be lymphedema, or it might be, like I said, there's other edemas like lipedema. I'm not very well versed in that one.
Okay, so
But
lymphedema and lymphedema, this is one with
there's like two different
okay.
ones. And I like I said, I know lymphedema, which is regards to the lymphatic system, which is you know, like your lymph nodes, and that you have like all over your body. Just basically there's something about your lymphatic system that they could happen in secondary, meaning like you could have a surgery where it just, like maybe if you have, a lot of people can get it from breast cancer, if they get their lymph nodes taken out, and then their body just, you know, then you get lymphedema in your arm or something like that. Mine, like I said, was possibly primary lymphedema, and you know, I had something taken out of my upper groin, which then caused lymphedema. I mean, obviously, if I could go back in time, if I knew what I knew now, I would be a little bit more cautious about completely removing something over, like by my major lymph nodes in my groin. That's where it was placed, that lipoma that grew. I probably would be more cautious about getting it removed. But I mean, hindsight is 2020. I don't know if I would have not gotten it removed, because it was also causing me some pain. So it's okay. It's what and that's kind of the thing that I've always said in my speeches, is that you know, it's hard not to compare myself to who I was before. It's also hard to not compare myself to other people, because almost no one I know has lymphedema. And nobody I know, I don't see anyone on a daily basis that is dealing with what I'm dealing with. And all that comparison does is, I mean, for lack of better terms, it just makes me sad and almost depressed. And so what I have to do every morning when I wake up and start doing the things I have to do with my leg, on top of everything else I have to do, like getting my kids ready for school, which can be a tornado. I have to just choose, like I said before, in other speeches, I have to choose lymphedema every morning. I wake up and I have to choose it, because in a sense, it feels like lymphedema chose me. Like, why me out of all these people do I have lymphedema, right? That's how I can sometimes find myself being. That's a horrible mindset to be in. But me turning it around and saying, you know what, I choose lymphedema. I'm strong. I'm like really disciplined. Okay. I'm one of the most disciplined people you'll ever meet. I don't care if you know someone more disciplined. I know what I just said. And that's what I'm going to believe for myself. And I choose my lymphedema today, which means I'm going to go ahead and unwrap my leg. I'm going to get my garment. I'm going to put it on and do everything I have to do to tackle this chronic condition today. It will not own me today. And so every day I subconsciously choose it to get through my day. And, you know, the days and the weeks and the months and the years, and that's what I've been doing to get by. And in a sense, it's definitely made me, if possible, even more disciplined, even more resilient. nothing really shakes me too much. And I know that as hard as it is to have this condition, it's made me a better mom, and it's made me a better wife. It's just made me a better person because of how I tackle it. So
How that make you like a better mom, a better wife, a better, just like the way you discipline yourself, or the way you look from.
Definitely discipline being part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's just the lessons that I'm teaching my kids inadvertently without talking, I think is important.
Mm-hmm.
The lessons of it's okay to be different. I'm different. They know mom is different. Like what I have to do every day, you know, they don't know any different. As far as I've always had lymphedema since they've been born, but they have noticed that, okay, I don't do this. Dad doesn't do this. No one I know does what mom does, you know, and that's okay. You know, like just to honor people's differences and just be okay with them. They understand, you know, and it's not all rainbows. There's roller coasters I go on. There are some days where I'm very kind of down and I don't really think my life's doing well. And they watch me kind of manage my emotions as I go through that. My kids are very, you can meet them. They're like a lot of, one's 3 and one's 6, a lot of questions, but the kind of questions they ask, I think open myself up for, I'm sorry, I have a cat that just opened up the door.
Right. All right.
I just saw her do it. I have a little kid that's very, she's very curious, and now I don't know what to do because I think I have to.
You're talking about curiosity. The cat now want to be like, it's okay. It's a cat. Hello.
Oh yeah. But I kind of lost my train of thought. But yeah, they're very inquisitive and they ask questions that I'm able to kind of answer in a grown-up way. I think I might have to pause and put my kitty outside because she's very vocal, and I'm sorry about that. So yeah, I was just saying that, okay, so they ask questions that I feel like are pretty grown up. And so I'm able to answer them truthfully and say, you know, life is going to throw you curveballs. And I have no idea of knowing what those are for you. I just know that every person I've ever known has had a curveball thrown their way, and how they deal with it is everything. You know, how I decided to deal with my lymphedema is everything to me. I mean, their father, my husband, has had some curveballs thrown his way. I'm just saying that everybody knows what I'm talking about because everybody's had that happen to them. And you have to view it as an opportunity. An opportunity, you almost have to smile at it. And as hard as it is, you have to smile at it because you have to know that the way you tackle it is going to be a lesson for you, and it's going to make you a better person on the other side. And it's hard because all you want to do is focus on the fact that you're dealing with something that's difficult. And you have to know that while you can, you know, kind of wallow in your pity a little bit, you have to just find your way through it. So
I love that. I really love that. And especially when you share about your children, that they ask a lot of questions, but you answer them, and you give them as it is, because that's what is authenticity, that's integrity.
yeah.
Because I heard someone the other day say, if we live with integrity, we are not afraid of anything because we have nothing to hide. And when we have nothing to hide, we live a life of pride. And a lot of people try always to show people that they are not, and that's why always like they are not living a life of integrity, and they feel like they have to hide, they feel they have, but that's who we are. That's what life throws at us, and we have to ask question: is life happening for me or happening to me? And you said, I love when you said, I choose lymphedema because every day, every morning, every week, every month, and it becomes something that make you stronger and discipline you, and you see things, probably appreciate life more, because you see it now from both sides. Before I have lymphedema and after I have lymphedema, so it's very powerful. I really love when you share that. So with the lymphedema, like is like honestly, like as I said earlier, I didn't know about it till I had a podcast with Giselle Divarino the other day,
Mhm.
She shared it with me. Is it like there's a lot of cases like in the world? There's like statistics
Um,
like I'm just.
I think it's about 20 million. I'm sure there could possibly be more, because it's so, um, it's it's rare for a general doctor even to know about it. I think it's getting better. So March is Lymphedema Awareness Month. It's nice that I'm talking to you in March. And the reasons that that Giselle, I know Giselle, she's great. That she started, her what does she do with lymphedema? She started like a whole thing in New Brunswick, right? Is because the more awareness, like I know that she was saying that it's because it's really hard for people to get garments just to take care of their lymphedema. Like insurance doesn't cover it. It costs thousands of dollars. So then it becomes
Can you
something.
explain, Deborah, like the garment you mentioned a few times? Is that like what you put on the leg or
Yeah,
something to hold?
it's a compression garment, and you can buy them over the counter, but they're really not the greatest. You need to have them custom fitted to make it work as well for your legs as possible. Custom garments, I mean, if you can get one over the counter, it's better than nothing, but like you need a custom garment. Everybody with lymphedema, I think, should have access to that. It's one of the best ways to try to live a life that, like with everyone else, and be comfortable. Because if I don't have a compression garment on, my leg is it's just all my lymphatic fluid is just going to start flowing into my leg and cause me to start limping, cause it to grow. And the compression garment is holding that lymphatic fluid out during the day for me. Yeah, it's about 20 million Americans have it. It's hard to diagnose in many cases.
20 million, really? That's just in America.
What was that?
20 million, that's just in America, really? Yeah.
Yes, and it's a lot of people just don't talk about it when they have it. A lot of people just think like, oh, I have bad circulation, and they just kind of go on, and their leg just gets worse and worse, and they have no idea they actually have a condition that's a little different than just bad circulation, because it's like not diagnosed correctly a lot of times. It's getting better as far as the awareness of it. And the reason I think it's important for the awareness to be up there is because there are doctors who work in the field who could possibly, I mean, even like 20 years, find a cure for it, and be able to figure out a way to make sure that people don't have this condition happen. There's women that I know that have had breast cancer, and while the main thing that their cancer doctors are trying to do is rid their body of cancer, they don't tell them that, like, also when I take out all the lymph nodes, you might have lymphedema in your left arm or your right arm, whatever, when I take out everything. And so they're like, they don't know, and they don't say anything. So they get rid of the cancer and everything's good. And then they're left with a chronic condition for the rest of their life, which I think in some respects, like having in your arm is not as big as an extremity of your leg. But for me, I have to wrap my leg with compression bandages at night. It's like a whole process. It honestly seems archaic, and there's other ways to manage your lymphedema, but for me, that's what works for me. And I can't imagine you can't wrap it. What if it's on your right hand and you're right-handed, and you have to try to wrap your left arm or your right arm? It's impossible. Like it's a very, like, it's almost like, great, I'm happy I don't have cancer, but now I have this thing. Right. And it's just horrible to them. I don't know how else to explain how, like, psychologically, just it's very depressing thing. Lymphedema can be very depressing. And so the more people that know about it, the more doctors that are able to kind of talk about it with other doctors, and how we can maybe tackle this, and how for sure at least insurance should be covering like the things you need to take care of it. Maybe one day we can not have to deal with taking care of the symptoms for the rest of our life, so
like there is no medication or anything that maybe like reduce the pain or maybe stop the fluid from
that's just kind of up to the individual. Nothing really stops lymphedema. No, things can make it better. I know Giselle is very big into nutrition, and so like certain things you eat could help. how your diet is in general could help, maybe vitamins, macronutrients, micronutrients, all those different things. That's on you. All the different ways that you could possibly take care of it, managing your symptoms is what they call it. That's on the individual.
Mm-hmm.
But the case is that you are still going to have it.
So, okay.
It's just how are you going to manage it so it doesn't take over your life, I guess. You
Wow.
know.
So since you had that, I know you had it, and you were 21, and
Mm-hmm.
that didn't stop you. You still move on. You still carry on to be like
Yeah.
a professional athlete. Like what?
I know you talked about being authentic, and I really want to be authentic and tell you,
Mm-hmm.
as disciplined and stubborn as I am, I can be as stubborn the opposite direction. So I'm not going to tell you that I was like always inspiring and that I was always ready to tackle it. It took me a while to really fully accept it. Can you imagine being like a 20-year-old, and no offense to 20-year-olds, but normally it's hard for us, or for people who are 20, to, I mean, come on, it's a bad age to try to do something very another thing very disciplined, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I was a disciplined person, but it was like I wasn't expecting this. And so it took me a couple years to get used to it. And I in a sense, to get to that point, I let go of my identity, which was, I was an athlete. That's who I was. I always was since I was 7. Anytime I did anything athletically, people thought I had a talent at it. I was gymnast for 10 years. Then I ran track, and along the way, all the coaches I've ever encountered had always thought I had a possibility to be great at it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I leaned into in my life, was that I was an athlete, and I let go of that begrudgingly when I was diagnosed with lymphedema, because I mean, I had to quit track when I first was diagnosed. How do you run track with this chronic condition where your leg swells, and it just is just going to make it worse? I don't even know how to take care of it 100%. And it was just too much. So when I moved back home to Minneapolis, I was not in a good place mentally. I was doing it. I was taking care of my leg by doing it, I mean, but I was very broken. And it's funny because I ended up meeting my now husband then at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We went on a blind date, and I thought he was fun, so I kept hanging out with him. Basically is how it went. It wasn't like this like pew pew, like I love you. It was just like, I was, like I said, in a bad place. I was not in a great place, but he liked me and I liked him. But I remember telling him about my lymphedema early on, and I remember what alarmed me about him was that I thought, okay, this is it. He's going to think I'm crazy. All the things I have to do to take care of this leg. And he was like, okay. He was like over it before I was. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is horrible. And he's like, I get it. That's okay. And I'm like, all right. Okay. Like, I wish I was it was easy about it as you are. Like, I can't get over this. It's horrible. And it was about 6 months into dating him, and I was at this point where it was late at night, and the bandages I have, it's like I want to say it's like a 10-step process.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to wash them and dry them, and I dried them, and they were all in a wad. Just a big old wad of bandages, which I see often nowadays. It doesn't faze me now, but back then I was like, so I have to detangle these and then roll every single one, and then one by one slip them all on my leg. I won't be done for another 45 minutes.
Wow.
I want to go to sleep right now, is what I was thinking. I was like, I was tired. I'd already kind of fallen asleep on the couch or something. And I was like, oh man, I have to wrap my leg. And I looked at this, and I don't want to maybe brush my teeth and go to bed is what I want to do right now. And I started crying to him, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, why me of all people? Like, I was a great athlete. Like, I had every reason to not get this. Why of all people did I get this? Me? Like, why? Like, I don't know anyone with this. I was going crazy. And he finally stopped me, and he was just like, why not you? Why not you? Why not you?
Choose someone. Name someone.
Huh?
Name
Say that
someone.
again?
Yeah, why it's not me?
Yeah. And I was like, what are you saying? And he's like, you are literally the strongest person I know, Deborah. He's like, you're the most disciplined, strongest person I know. It is what attracted me to you. You're like, you can't be anything but strong. Why not you? You are literally the best person in the world to get lymphedema. I'm sorry to say it, but you are. And I was like, thanks. But, that moment, it really, that sat with me well after that moment. Like the next morning I woke up and I was like, for real, I am like really strong. Like come on, like get it together, Deborah, is kind of where I was at with that. I was like, he is right. And I went with it. Why not me? Why not me? So that's how I went from that point to where I became a professional athlete. And that took about, honestly, it was 2000, and it took about 7 years from that point for me to then become a professional athlete. I've told people that I started by walking, which is true. I hadn't worked out in a while at that point. I stopped running college track. Like I said, I hit a brick wall. I didn't do anything athletically or physically, fitness wise, after I got lymphedema. And so I started by walking because I was afraid of how my leg would react. And so that's how I started to become a professional athlete. And that's why I like to tell people, you just never know what you're capable of until you just try. 7 years is a long time, but it didn't seem like 7 years to me. I was just building bricks for 7 years to make it to the point where I made it, to become a professional athlete. And it didn't feel daunting at all. By starting at walking, it wasn't like I had the dream of being a professional athlete when I started walking. My dream when I started walking was to maybe start running someday. So I started walking in the mornings before work, and my leg managed well. And so I was like, all right, I'll walk for 5 minutes. I'm going to run for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to walk for 5 minutes and see if I can do another 10 minutes of running. So I would do that. I kind of do this like walk run thing. And I kept doing that. And I felt like my leg managed well with that. So I was like, I'm going to just start running for 20 minutes. All right. I'm going to try running for 30 minutes. Cool. And then I was like, I didn't really want to be a distance runner. I was like, I'm going to start lifting weights too. So I'll run in the mornings before work, but then after work, I'll go to the gym and see if I can like squat and lift weights. All of these things I added in very slowly, testing my leg the whole way just to make sure that everything was still managing well. I wasn't overdosing my lymphatic system, I guess you could say, or my ability to take care of it. And I kept adding fitness and challenging myself. So it was an interesting mindset because the fitness industry is something that I didn't care about as an athlete. It's like athletics and fitness are totally different. They might look the same because both people might look fit. The athlete, I can assure you, doesn't care as much how they look. They're just worried about their performance. Whereas people in fitness they more care about technique most of the time, like how they look at the end of the day. And I'm not disparaging either one. It's just saying that's the motivation for a lot of it. So it was hard for me to be into fitness when I really wanted to be an athlete, like inside. Like, even though I put that dream to bed and I was like, she's gone. I don't even know who she is anymore. There was a part of me that was like, I still want to be an athlete. But I was 23, at the time. And then, moving on in a couple of years, I was 25 at the time when I was still just kind of fitnessing, I guess you could say. But anytime I had an opportunity to compete, I would. In that sense, there was a 400-meter track at the gym that I worked out at, and my husband and I would do this thing where we'd run 800s at the end of a workout to see just to run it. And he's like similar to me as far as in speed, so he's like an average speed man or whatever. But obviously, I'm a little bit faster than an average person, or at least I was back then. And it felt so good to compete with him at the end of the workout. You could have told me I was in the Olympics, the way it felt competing against him at those moments. And I think I knew that I had just a lot of leftover need to compete and to show my athleticism in some way. So I I got my chance later in life. If you want me to continue, sorry.
No, no, I'm enjoying them. Just
okay.
yeah.
So later in life, as I was fitnessing, I actually I moved to New York, got my master's for 2 years, moved back. I was with Patrick the whole time, moved back. And when I was back here in Minneapolis, I decided to go on a run. It was 2010, early 2010, and it was cold outside here in Minneapolis. And I went on a run anyways, and I was like 20 minutes into the run, and I was like, I really am freezing. And I saw a CrossFit gym in the distance, and I kind of heard of CrossFit. Like somebody I knew that I went to high school with had posted about it or something. And it was new to me back then. And so I was like, I'm gonna walk into this gym because I'm curious and I want to get warm for a second. So I walked in, and there was a guy sitting in the middle who was the owner of the gym, and he kind of explained what CrossFit was, and like, as fast as he could. He was very like, happy to have someone come in, and was like, hey, did you want to stay for a workout? It's coming up in 10 minutes. Everyone's going to come and we're going to do a workout. And I was like, sure, I'll do it, So I did the workout, and I remember it involved like maybe some pull-ups. And I mean, if you don't know, CrossFit encompasses gymnastics, running, weightlifting. It can be all and everything. It could be just one thing. It's just all sorts of different ways of getting fit, I guess you can say, throughout, a week or a month. It's just all different types of workouts. But what it feels like a lot of times when you do the shorter workouts of CrossFit, it feels like a 400-meter run. If you ever ran track, and if you ever ran a 400, the same thing I'm talking about, where like earlier, where you have like blood in your lungs. Like as a sprinter, I kind of hated that because I had to do that as a living, but I also kind of loved it. I had to be honest with myself. Obviously, I loved it to a certain extent. And so that's what would happen sometimes in a CrossFit workout. You do like a short sprint CrossFit workout, and you'd finish and you're like, oh,
out of breath.
yeah, but it felt good. I remembered that feeling. I mean, at this point I was 30, and I hadn't been able to do that since for nine years. And when it got taken away from me, because of lymphedema. So it felt good to know that like, it's still in me. And so after that one workout, the guy who owned the gym, he was like, you have to do this. You have a talent, and you can go to the CrossFit Games. It's the pinnacle of our sport. I'll send you videos of what it's like. And I was like, whoa, this guy doesn't know me, doesn't know I have lymphedema, doesn't know that I could not possibly do this, And I've told people before that it's like I immediately had two different people on my shoulders, where it was one person being like, you can't do this. You have lymphedema. You better watch yourself, and the other person was like, look, this is your chance. You can be an athlete again.
Love it now.
Yeah. But this person, I wasn't ready for this person to take over yet. I was a little like, I want this, but I'm not sure. I was more like cautious. I'm like, I want to be cautious here. I don't want to make things worse. I told Patrick about it, and he's like, look, do you like going to the gym? Do you like doing that CrossFit stuff or whatever? And I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm made for it. Like I was a gymnast, I ran track, I lifted weights. Like, I feel like I'm ready, like good at this. And he was like, if you enjoy doing it, just go to the gym and just do it. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to commit to competing. I can just go. And as the year went on, I noticed that like any skill that came up, new skill or whatever, I would get it right away. I was just faster than anyone at the gym at doing any of the workouts. I mean, I told you before, I love competing. It solved that whole problem where every day I could compete against myself, against other people. I was so concerned about my performance back where I wanted to be. I didn't care about how I looked with fitness. It was all about performance, and I was getting better faster, and I was lifting heavier weights, and it felt good to be focusing on that. And so I decided to sign up for the World Games in 2011. And the way you sign up, they have a open, which is actually going on right now. The CrossFit Open is happening right now for 2021, but I retired now. But I stay on it now because I'm sort of invested in it since I competed in it. But so 2011 CrossFit Open starts. Top 40 in the region at the end of 5 weeks of the Open goes to regionals, which was in Chicago for this region.
Mm-hmm.
And there's regions all over the world. And then of those top 40, the top 3 goes to the World Games in California from that region. So I was like, whatever, let me just see how I end up in the region, see if I can make it to regionals. And at the end of the 5 weeks, I ended up first in the region.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm going to Chicago with a target on my back. Everyone's going for me. Everybody wants one of my, I'm top spot. I walked into the regionals the first day and it was like everyone's eyes are on me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hi, expect this. I'm here. Like, yes, this thing on my leg that I'm wearing, I have lymphedema. Like, it was just a lot to unload. But I was just happy to be competing again. And at the end of regionals, which was a 3-day competition, I made it to the CrossFit Games. First time in 2011. I was one of the oldest athletes there. Well, just to be CrossFit Games, when you turn 35, that's considered master's levels in CrossFit. I mean, I was 4 years out from being a master's. Most of the girls were in their 20s that I was competing against, but I honestly didn't care. I felt like I was good enough to be there, obviously. But yeah, I was there, and this is what it looked like. This is me. I've showed this before. This is another speeches, but this is me in 2011 at the CrossFit Games. This was a picture right before the game started. They took a picture of me, which I love the picture because it's such an homage to who I was, which is a sprinter.
Very athletic. You can tell you had a really athletic body, and you were.
Yeah. But what I love about this picture too is that my leg is in a full display. Like my garment. That's what I love, is that I'm owning my garment. You know what I mean?
Love that. That's kind of almost like showing the world that's, yes, this is who I am with my lymphedema, that just sit you like different, but you managed to come on the top of that too as well.
Yeah. I honestly felt like it gave me an edge in the sense that it was outwardly showing people that I made it to the CrossFit Games, and this is my competition, which I appreciate and love my competition. They made me better, but I obviously want to beat them. But it was my way of showing them, like, yes, I made it to the CrossFit Games, as did you. I just want you to know that I also made it with lymphedema.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's not a handicap. Don't be fooled. It's not a handicap. This makes me so much stronger than you want to believe. Like, this is what I wanted people to feel. That whenever you line up at the CrossFit Games, it's like they have this thing where, everybody's in certain heats, and at the beginning it's kind of shuffled or whatever, as far as like who's good or whatever. But you're lining up and you look to your right, you look to your left, and the girls because you've seen their names come throughout the months of competition. And I just wanted everyone to know when they name out the persons, they're like, oh, in lane 3, it's Carson. I wanted people to hear my name and be like, crap, Deborah's in my heat. That's what I wanted. Yep, you're right. I don't quit, and you're right. I'm glad you all are scared. You should be. It's kind of how I wanted to be presented. And that's what I did. Nobody ever knew what to do when I was in their heat, because there was things that, like, I don't know what it was, but I would definitely have these moments in competing in the CrossFit Games, which I competed 3 years. So that was my first year of 2011. I went back in 2012, which was my best year. And then 2013, I decided to go one more year before I wanted to start having kids. But it was my thing was that I would have these moments where I wish I could quantify it. I wish I could explain it better. But it's almost like an out of body experience, where the combination of me being an athlete back in 2002, when I was diagnosed with lymphedema, And going through those 7 years of figuring out how to come back to this place with lymphedema and making it back, I mean, against a lot of odds, to this stage of being this great athlete, it was never lost on me. And there was moments where I could feel all those years and like all of that, all the things I did just in one just ball of energy, and nothing could keep me down. There was events in the CrossFit Games where I would win by like a minute.
Wow.
There was events in the CrossFit Games where I'd be behind and I'd look at the crowd and I could hear my dad. My dad had a booming voice. Let's go, Debo. I could hear him. And it like, and just that would remind me of who I am. And by who I am, I mean everything. You know, Patrick telling me I'm the strongest person he knows, hitting that brick wall when I got lymphedema and overcoming it. Being 31, 32, 33 in the CrossFit Games among a field of 20-year-olds. And knowing who I am, I would just feel it all. And then like I'd be behind and then all of a sudden I'd win. You know what I mean? Like I
feels like almost like you have like an extra power inside that this is my dream that lymphedema took from me. Now I'm taking it back. That's just pushing you forward and keep going.
Yeah. And it's something that I always wished other people could feel. I mean, I went on to coach and stuff like that too. And I would always want other athletes to understand that power within them. It's different for every person, but like, there is a way, there's in everybody, there's something in you, that ball of energy, that feeling of transcending everything that's holding you down. It's in you. And that's what I would use. That's what got me to where I went. And that's what carries me even through the toughest stuff that I go through in life that has nothing to do with athletics. You know, life is just is as hard as making it to the CrossFit Games sometimes. It doesn't look as glamorous, but I mean, yeah, I have a platform because there's a lot of pictures taken of me back in there, and I had a lot of awards and all those things, but it's not as glamorous life, but it's just as hard. You know,
100%.
Yeah.
And I really share, like, I really love your story because you said, and I love what Oprah once said. She said, when you say yes to life, you say yes to it, to all its experiences, either bad or good. So embrace life as it is, as you did, Deborah. When lymphedema hit, you didn't just sit there and say, okay, that's it. That's the end of my dream. That's your boyfriend, your husband saw it in you and they said, God chose you for this. God gave you because you are stronger, and you prove it. And now look at you. You are living it, and you are sharing your passion with the world.
Yeah.
What you do now, Deborah? Like what you do like in your life? You are motivated.
I am a home technician. I'm a stay-at-home mother.
Amazing.
Before pandemic, I should say, not this meaning pandemic. Before pandemic, I coached at the CrossFit gym that I still go to here and there. And so I would do that on top of, I had a young 3-year-old who was going to be in preschool next year, but basically me and her spent every day together on top of me coaching. So that's what I used to do. And then after pandemic, I've cut back from coaching, and now I'm talking to you. I'm talking to a lot of people. I feel like that's something that I've been happy and blessed to share is my story. And so that's what I've been up to.
Amazing. And that's like the most powerful job ever, like raising the future leaders, which is kids. Because nowadays we see a lot of people like their kids, they are just almost like the kids are the parent and the parent are the kids, and that need to be changed, because children need like a lot of value, need to be taught like the value of life, need to be resilient, need to know a lot of stuff, how to be a bouncy ball, so when life hit them hard, they can come back. What is the last word you will share, my friend? I really enjoy your story, and can't believe almost an hour we've been talking. That's just how powerful your your story. Yeah? What's something that you would like to share, like as Ali Dose of Inspiration, something with the audience or people with the lymphedema, something that you can inspire them or tell them that they can take away from this?
It's just, I mean, I have a lot of different things I can say, but one thing is that I I find inspiration in all like the simplest things, and I think that a lot of people look to people maybe like me who have done some big things on a big stage for some words of inspiration. When the whole time, like I'm probably more inspired by them, than they would be by me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said before, just living life is sometimes
Mm-hmm.
harder just to do the things you do on a daily basis, whether that means you have to get up, you have to make your kids lunch, you have to get them out, you have the breakfast, you get them out the door, you have to do all these things, then you have to go to work, and you did it. All the things you do in life, you think they're mundane. That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Okay, so find a way to be inspired by what you do and find your own strength. The fact that you're able to wake up and take all those mini goals and complete them is something that you should start patting yourself on the back for. Don't just act like that's you going through the motions. I always like to say that, like, I am human, just like you and everyone else. What made me special, sure, I have some athletic ability, but really, like, I remember just believing when I was little that I was faster than everyone. I don't even know if I actually was.
Mm-hmm.
I know I wasn't faster than my brother or my sister for a while. I just believed I was. So the power of your own self, believing in yourself and thinking you're amazing. Yeah, I'm amazing for taking care of my kids and taking them to school and picking them up and talking to them and asking about their day and making sure that they, are ready to go for the next day. I'm amazing for that. I'm going to say that. I'm amazing. I know everyone does that. You should think you're amazing too. So finding inspiration in your own life and what you do, be inspired by yourself. That's how I would like to leave this today, I guess. Sure, be inspired by me, but be inspired by yourself.
I love that. I love that. Everyone have their own aspiration. Just look for the simplest thing, and it's all start with here, with the mindset. So believe, and the progress lead to belief, and belief will grow. Thank you very much, my friend Deborah Carson. I really enjoy this podcast with you. And this is Ali Ettarnichi, Ali Dose of Inspiration. See you next time. Thank you very much, Deborah.
Thank you.